President Moon Jae-in has returned home after wrapping up a three-day trip to Bangkok, where he attended the ASEAN +3 and related regional forums. There, he held a brief summit with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, signaling the possibility of high-level Seoul-Tokyo dialogue to ease tensions, while also drumming up support from the region for his peace drive on the Korean Peninsula. President Moon didn't forget to promote the Korea-ASEAN Special Summit set for the end of this month in South Korea's port city of Busan. Today, we go in-depth on President Moon's visit to Thailand with Dr. Jae-hyon of the Asan Institute for Policy Studies. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you.
So first of all, President Moon Jae-in and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe met in Bangkok for their first face-to-face in 13 months. And their meeting, although very brief, is largely gaining positive views. How did you see the talks?
Yeah, of course, the two leaders meeting sends a good signal for the Korea-Japan relations. But as we all know, there wasn't any meeting between the two leaders so far, and I personally hope this is the kind of the beginning of an end with the dispute between the two countries. But of course, we have a lot of problems and issues between Korea and Japan. So this just one leaders meeting cannot solve all the problems. There are so many issues we have to iron out. And then after this leaders meeting, the working level follow-up should come from both sides. And the one thing I was quite interested in seeing the meeting, although it was short, the President Moon Jae-in led Prime Minister Abe for a talk. So it was quite impressive for me.
Right. And also in Bangkok, 15 countries, including South Korea, China, and Japan, have agreed on the terms of a massive trade deal known as the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, which is expected to be signed next year. And the scale of RCEP reportedly covers about 1/3 of the world's total trade volume. What does RCEP mean to South Korea? Expected economic effects on the South Korean economy?
Okay. Let me just go back a little bit to the early 2000s. There were two competing frameworks for regional free trade agreement. One is East Asia Free Trade Area. The other one is what I call CEPIA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership in East Asia. These two were quite promising at the time, but there was Japan-China rivalry. One pushed by Japan, the other one pushed by China. And then when these two could not make a conclusion, the ASEAN countries came up with what I call CEPIA, you just mentioned. And of course, this CEPIA, the countries included, 16 countries included in this RCEP framework, and they have been in negotiation for last 6 years, and there were more than 20 kind of rounds of negotiations. In this summit, they finally reached an agreement on most of the chapters in this free trade agreement. But still, we have a big issue called India. India has kind of a strong protectionist tradition, so we have a big question. India, and I hope, as we know, there is a trade war between the United States and China is going on, and most of the regional countries are quite dependent on trade for their economic growth. So in this context, the RCEP, signing of RCEP could be start of a strengthening of free trade order in the region, as well as provide some kind of a safety net for the regional countries.
So among the countries, India is one nation that we must keep particular tabs on.
Yeah, of course.
Now, RCEP includes all the nations that are part of President Moon Jae-in's new Southern policy, which was designed to further boost and diversify the diplomatic and economic ties between Korea and the ASEAN nations. Could you explain to us how the RCEP agreement reached in Bangkok would help further boost President Moon's new Southern policy?
What I call new Southern countries are the 10 ASEAN countries, as well as India. And if you look at the economic relation between Korea and Southeast Asia at the moment, we have Korea-ASEAN free trade agreement. And on top of that, we have bilateral FTAs with Indonesia and Vietnam. And also the bilateral free trade agreement with Malaysia and the Philippines is in the pipeline. And of course, we have what we call SEPA with India. This is Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. And so some people may say that this could create what we call spaghetti ball effect in the region. There are so many different FTAs and the people don't know what to use and which channel. So that could be a problem. But if we have more FTA, then we have more chance to increase our trade. And of course, at the moment, our free trade agreement with ASEAN has the problem, the low utilization rate. And with this SEPA, with this RCEP, this new agreement touches upon something left behind by other regional FTAs like intellectual property, e-commerce, and single rule for origin, and etc. So the RCEP agreement could boost our trade with the ASEAN countries definitely, and also with India. By year 2020, our trade goal with ASEAN countries is 200 billion US dollars, and with India it's 50 billion US dollars. Definitely with RCEP, this achievement will speed up, I guess.
Well, spaghetti bowl, I think, is a very interesting term, and it also sounds like more efforts, more measures are needed to enhance the utilization of all the existing partnerships. Now, President Moon's visit to Thailand comes just ahead, just a few weeks before the upcoming Korea-ASEAN Special Summit, as well as the very first Korea-Mekong Summit. What do you think are the implications of that? The just ended summits is quite important because in this region, in East Asia, we have an annual summit at the end of the year, ASEAN Plus 3 East Asia Summit, as well as ASEAN. This is one of the biggest annual multilateral summit. And of course, we used to have ASEAN Plus 1 summit at the side of this ASEAN Plus 3, ASEAN Korea separate summit. But this year, because we have, as you just mentioned, the commemorative summit at the end of November, there was no ASEAN Plus 1 summit. But taking this opportunity, President Moon Jae-in asked ASEAN leaders to support and ask them to actively involved in the discussion at the Korea-ASEAN Special Summit. So already President Moon Jae-in knows all the leaders of Southeast Asian countries, but it was again good to catch up with those leaders and ask their support. Now, President Moon has scored an early achievement of his vow to visit all 10 ASEAN nations during his term, which implies his strong will to find future growth through his policy of New Southern Policy. Now, having said that, how do you gauge the significance of the upcoming Korea-ASEAN Summit?
The Korean-ASEAN Summit, the special summit at the end of November, is very important and very meaningful summit. Because if South Korea holds this special summit by the end of November, then South Korea will be the first country that hold the special summit 3 times. At the moment, ASEAN has 10 dialogue partners, and South Korea is one of those 10 dialogue partners. And no country among these dialogue partners have held special summits for 3 times. So this is quite special for South Korea. And also, I hope this special summit could be kind of a conclusion for what I call New Southern Policy 1.0. and the new beginning for the New Southern Policy 2.0. So I'm taking this opportunity. I hope the President Moon Jae-in could roll out the new direction and details of the New Southern Policy 2.0.
Now, amid Pyongyang-Washington, stalled Pyongyang-Washington nuclear negotiations, President Moon Jae-in has once again made efforts in Bangkok to drum up support from the ASEAN nations for his peace drive on the Korean Peninsula. How do you assess President Moon's efforts on that front?
As you just mentioned, the North Korea-US summit is kind of standstill or does not make a big progress in recent months. So at this moment, South Korea needs a lot of international support or the pressure, if you like, for two parties to resume talk and serious negotiation toward the denuclearization. And of course, President Moon Jae-in taking this opportunity, he made clear commitment in the building peace and prosperity in the Korean Peninsula. Especially, he made the speech in the East Asia Summit, which included both US and China. So he clearly sent the message to the leaders, and he again mentioned what I call international peace zone that he mentioned in his UN speech this time again. And the other thing is that in this summit, President Moon could see ASEAN leaders, and he could ask again the support from the ASEAN countries and future role in building peace in the Korean Peninsula.
Now, what are some of the expected outcome of the upcoming Korea-ASEAN Special Summit as well as the Korea-Mekong Summit? And what could you pinpoint some of the key points we should watch out for?
Okay. As I just mentioned, this special summit could be the new beginning for South Korea's New Southern Policy toward ASEAN and India. The New Southern Policy already spent 2 years, which was New Southern Policy 1.0, and now it's beginning a new stage. So in this summit, this summit could be kind of indicator, or in which direction the New Southern Policy will unfold in the coming years. And the second thing to watch is what could be the consensus or response among South Korea and Southeast Asian countries facing superpower rivalry, the trade war and strategic competition between the United States and China. Both ASEAN countries and South Korea are facing kind of strategic dilemma and the strategic competition. So I hope the leaders could come out with some kind of consensus regarding this superpower competition. And the last point I would like to see in this summit is that the President Moon could show his sincerity and commitment that he will pursue New Southern Policy toward ASEAN in remaining his term. And again, there are a lot of questions from Southeast Asian countries that this policy would continue in the next government as well. So I hope President Moon Jae-in will show that make sure that this policy could continue in the upcoming, in the next government as well.
One quick last question before you go. It goes without saying that the upcoming Korea-ASEAN Summit will be economy-focused, economy-centered, highlighting the various economic partnerships between Korea and the ASEAN nations. But do you think it could also serve as an opportunity to boost military cooperation between Korea and those ASEAN nations?
Well, I would say the military cooperation between Korea and Southeast Asia is a little bit early, because the military issue and defense issue is a bit sensitive, both in South Korea and Southeast Asian countries. But definitely, the economic cooperation is far ahead of what I call peace cooperation. And it includes security, military, defense, and other non-traditional issues. So in this summit, I hope the Korean government could push this peace cooperation a little bit further so that the three pillars of cooperation can make balance.
All right, that is all the time we have for you. Thank you so much, Dr. Lee, for your insights tonight.
Thank you so much.